Welcome to another edition of Inspiring Life Journeys, where we have conversations with people from all walks of life on what they learned on their journeys through life. And today we have a really interesting guest with us. But before I introduce her, I'm going to go ahead and just give you a little bit of introduction of what the show is about and who we are and who we are serving. So here we go. Hi, Tami. It's so great to have you here today.
Hi, Shanta. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for taking the time. I'm just going to give our viewers a little bit of introduction of who you are. I know you have so much more than what I can say in this few minutes here, but they're going to hear from you, and they're going to just learn all about you, about what you're doing now, and the difference you're making in the kids' lives. So let me start with the introduction of Tami. Tami Barnett, or Tami, grew up with a passion for helping families become whole and for protecting vulnerable children. She's an attorney and a National Association of Counsel for Children certified child welfare law specialist. She has 21 years of experience working with children in foster care. This includes 10 years at the Children's Law Center of California as attorney for children and as a director of the Attorney Conflict Panel. She engages the community through trainings and public speaking on the topics of foster care, adoption, reunification, and child welfare law. Tami is currently the full-time executive director of a nonprofit she co-founded called Raising Hope that empowers youth and young adults who are experiencing foster care to achieve their dreams through resources and relationships. Founded in 2015, Raising Hope provides mentoring, life skills, housing navigation, transportation, financial support, and advocacy for youth who are or were in foster care. Tami has a passion for walking through life with vulnerable youth and providing resources to young adults aging out in foster care system. Tami, I know you've just for the few years that I've known you and listening to all and seeing all what you've done, you're really walking the talk, and just your passion shows through. I believe that life shapes you to who you are today, and you go through experiences. So I was just wondering if you could give us just a little bit of background, through your years to becoming an attorney. Let's just start with that.
Yeah, sure. I was a little girl when I was about 5 years old. If you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I'd say Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. I wanted to be the first female Chief Justice. And so I just kind of like held that anthem. People would be like, oh, that's impressive, and I think in my little brain, I thought that was cool to kind of impress adults. And as I grew up, that was just kind of in the back of my mind. And then I hit high school and I got really sick. I had a virus that kept me out of school for about 6 weeks. And there was a time where we didn't know what it was. And I just started to kind of reevaluate what my purpose was and what I wanted to do. So I decided to change that dream. And I went into, that was my senior year. So then I went into college at Pepperdine, like not having a defined goal or what I wanted to do. I went in as an engineering major, actually. That I might make like artificial hearts and things like that. I knew I wanted to help people, and quickly realized that was not, that's not how my brain works. That was not a good idea. And so I ended up kind of bouncing around different majors in college and ended up going overseas and studying. And one of our professors was a political science professor. And I took his classes and I got like general credit for it, but I loved those classes. I loved learning all about politics and just how our system works and the big seminal cases that have come down and shaped our history as a country. And I just really enjoyed that. So I decided to just major in political science and sociology, just to like enjoy what I was learning. I had no idea what I would do with that in the end, but in the end, I applied for law school and I ended up right back where I was before, but with a different purpose. No longer to become Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, but to help children and families who are vulnerable and hurting. And that's how I ended up at law school.
Oh, that's great. I had no idea you were in the engineering, initially in the engineering field over there, getting into that. So, but
Yeah.
you learn, you as you evolve, even when you're in college, right? You don't always stick with what you have. Your passion grows in different directions.
Yeah. And I thought, if I'm not even going to be doing what I studied in college, which happens a lot, I might as well enjoy what I'm studying in college. And that's how I chose political science. And then I went to law school. And then in my second year of law school, I actually was going to leave. I was going to drop out because even though I loved law school and I loved learning all the things, I loved learning about property law and constitutional law and all the different fields, I couldn't see myself practicing any of those areas for
Mm-hmm.
my lifetime, for my career. And my good friend said, before you go and drop out, go
Mm-hmm.
to the internship office and see if they can help you figure out a way that you can use your law degree. And so I did that. I went to the internship office and she said, "What are you passionate about?" I'll never forget it. She asked me that one question and I had the answer ready. I said, "I'm passionate about helping to make families whole and protecting vulnerable children." And she said, "We have this brand new internship over at the Children's Courthouse in East LA, and it's with County Council. And would you like to go and interview for that?" And I was like, absolutely. And got the internship. And that is how I found my passion and my field of law, which is child welfare law. A lot of people don't know about that field of law. It's also called juvenile dependency. Um, so,
I think that was the right fit for you at the right time. You went, and that was rightly available, right? So it's all works in mysterious ways. I think God works in mysterious ways to lead you to where you are right now. So
absolutely.
that
Yeah,
was
I can see
awesome.
that the whole
Yeah.
way.
Uh-huh. So how was your internship and what did you do after you graduated?
I think the internship was a semester,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew then that's what I want to do when I graduate. Actually, the internship was representing social workers. So when you go into children's court, let's say a child has been allegedly abused or neglected by a parent or guardian, then you go into court and the social worker has a lawyer and each parent has their own lawyer and the children have a lawyer. So my internship was representing the social worker, but I always wanted to be on the other side of the table representing the children. So I told myself I'm going to finish law school and then I'm going to go and represent children. And after law school, I floundered a little. I worked in family law, which I did not enjoy. And I worked at a nonprofit, which was just general helping low and no income families, which I enjoyed a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I thought to myself, like, why didn't I ever apply at the Children's Law Center where I planned to work? Like, why I finished law school in the first place? So I went and applied there, and I ended up starting a job at the Children's Law Center in 2006.
Mm. Okay. And I take it you were there for a while before going into your next step of your journey.
Yeah,
But,
so I've been with the Children's Law Center off and on since 2006. I left to have my children. So, well, I had my son while I worked there, and it was a bit of a challenge, and I really wanted to be able to stay home with him. And so I left, and then I had my daughter as well.
mhm,
And then they were very gracious to let me come back and do a coverage position. So I just would do that in the summer because my husband's a teacher. So
mhm,
he would be home with the kids in the summer and I didn't feel as bad leaving them. And then I would go to work in the summers and then come back and be home with them during the school year. So it was a really nice kind of symbiotic relationship where we were each able to have time with the kids. Um, and so I did that coverage position for several summers. And then I ended up working part time in a job share position for them. And then I left. I left to do Raising Hope. So
Yeah, yeah. I was wondering where that fit in there. So, can you tell us a little bit about Raising Hope? What was the vision when you all started, and what you all are doing right now? Because I'd love our readers, listeners, to know more about Raising Hope and the impact that you're having in the children in the county here.
yeah, thank you. Well, the plan was no plan. We did not have a plan. Did not intend to start a nonprofit. In fact, my dad, he's in development, nonprofit development for many years. And when I told him, I said, this was years ago before I even thought about Raising Hope. I said, Dad, what would you think if I ever decided to start a nonprofit? What would your advice be? And he just said one thing, don't. And I think that was because he just knew the work that goes into it, not a lot of income, many long hours, and he didn't really want that for me, his daughter. So I never intended to start a nonprofit. But what happened was it started at my church, actually, at Living Oaks Church. At the time, they wanted to do more to help youth in foster care, and we really wanted to show the youth in our community, which is Ventura County, and I live in the Conejo Valley. We really wanted to see what youth needed in our area so that we could meet those needs. And as we researched, I realized the needs are exactly the same in Ventura County as they were for my clients in LA County, and they are for most youth who are in the foster care system. So we started doing a fundraiser called the Hope for Kids Festival and Run. This is my friend Dawn Groom and I. We started this together, and we had this amazing team of people. We would meet every year, we'd plan it, and it was a really cool event for the community, free, and it was a run, a 5K, 10K kids mile run, and a festival. And we also had a foster gallery in there that had never been done before in this county. So we featured photos and profiles of children who were in need of families, either for a short period of time while they were reunifying with their parents, or they needed families, permanent family homes through adoption. And so we were able to do that, and we loved it. But I was still working at the Children's Law Center when we started it. And as we grew, we decided to incorporate into a nonprofit. And once the nonprofit was formed, we really needed someone to manage the nonprofit full time. And we didn't want to just be an organization that did one thing, like one fundraiser. We wanted to really look at what the gaps were for youth who are in foster care and try to help make a difference where it was really needed. We never wanted to reinvent the wheel. We didn't want to do something that another organization was doing. And so we just started looking at what the holes were. We did that by talking with youth who are in care, foster parents, social workers, and just doing our due diligence to figure out what was needed so that we weren't creating a charity that was meeting a need that didn't exist, right? We have a lot of well-meaning people in the community that want to do something great, but they don't necessarily research what that population needs, and so that becomes a challenge because then it's not necessarily being effective, and so much money and time and goodwill is going into it. We wanted to make sure that that was going to where the need was was most for these youth.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
I love the fact that you looked at what's happening in the community, and you looked at the gaps that where you could fill to support that. Because I know there are other foster care organizations, but you all also do something a little different from the others, right? Each one's got their own little
yeah.
thing. So yeah, I love that. So what are the if you can give me some examples about without going into too much specifics as to the kids or anything like that, but just give me generally some of the situations that y'all have helped, because I think you all are doing something unique. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, there's some unique things. We have a great community of resources. There's so many wonderful nonprofits, and also our Children and Family Services program are doing really neat things for youth in our community. We're different because we solely work with the older youth who are aging out. And we decided to make that turn because we realized that where the deepest, greatest needs were ended up over and over coming up with our older youth who are about to age out of foster care. So we're talking 16 to 21 years old, because youth can stay in the foster care system until 21 now. They get to choose that. And even if they choose to age out at 18, at any point before they turn 21, they can come back into the system. And so we just found that we have this niche with these older youth, and we really connect with them. I don't know what it is, but we just have a way of connecting with them, and we love them, and we're rooting for them. And so one of the things that what we started out doing was a mentorship program, and we had heard from the county that that was needed. And so we started this one-to-one program. It's been around for about 7, 8 years now, I want to say. And we have some matches that have been ongoing since then. But we match a community member, we train them, we do the background check, of course, and we match them with a youth who wants to have a mentor. And they have to commit for a year, and they meet together at least twice per month. And one time per month is one-on-one. So they're building that relationship. And then the additional times they get together, they can bring the youth into their home for dinner, or they can go to like a book club or a birthday party or a church ceremony, whatever it is, they can bring the youth there as long as they both want to do that. And that's their time together. And we're seeing a huge impact, because in this way, one person can literally change the life of a youth who is vulnerable. They just need one stable, caring adult. I have a mentee who I love, and actually was texting with her today. She needed a little bit of advice. And so each of us at Raising Hope have someone we've taken under our wing, and it's pretty special. So that's our mentorship program. We also have a contract with Ventura County to teach the life skills. So it's just a law that all the youth who are aging out of care across the country have to go through they have to be referred to some sort of life skills class program. Because think about all the things that you learn that help to prepare you for adulthood. You learn those in a family, right? It's not even like your parents sit you down and give you lessons. You're just learning as you go. It's like this morning when I was driving with my daughter, and I said, now, when you get your license, you really want to look out for these intersections. You always want to do defensive driving. And I'm trying to show her as we go different things. And that's how you learn. You learn in a family. It's not an intentional class. But these classes help take the place of that, where we're able to do some really key lessons that apply directly to these youth as they age out. And we're able to just really connect with them in the classes as well.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'll just touch a little bit on your mentorship program. Yeah. Twice a month is not that big a commitment. And, people could be able to do that. Now, do you suggest that they do it, because people may have that thing, okay, I'm busy during the week. Does it have to be a specific time? Could they just work it around their schedule? How are people balancing that?
Yeah, it's really casual, and it's not rigid. We want it to make sense for both of you. And like the perfect example is during COVID. Our program thrived during COVID. And what we did was, a lot of times our mentors would just be texting with the youth, and that has held on. A lot of the interactions ended up being texting, because that's how our youth communicate these days, right? And we don't want to force them to do something else that isn't beneficial to them or is a hardship for them. And so a lot of times it's just texting and checking in on each other and seeing how they're doing, and then making a plan to get together that works for the both of you. But during COVID, it was a lot of texting, and then leaving like McDonald's on the doorstep of their home and then running away, right? Because we couldn't see each other, and just doing what we can to make sure these kids know that they're thought of, that they belong, and that they're cared for. So that's that program.
It's sometimes it's those little things that don't mean, may not be a big deal to us, which make a whole world of difference to the kids who are getting it, right?
Right. Absolutely. Just being thought of, like, oh, that my mentee, sometimes I get really busy, and she's shared with me that how much it means to her when I just check on her. Like, I
Mm.
just send a quick text, and I don't always do that. So I'm trying to be more intentional about doing that. I thought of you. I care
Yeah.
about you. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
really
Is
nice.
there a particular time of the year that you'll take in new mentors, or is that, whenever your need arises, you reach out to your community and ask for mentorships, or since you have classes to go to?
Yeah, we do classes quarterly.
Oh,
So, whenever someone's interested, I would direct them to our email address, and to just our main line, and we'll connect you with our mentorship coordinator. It's actually a mentorship and life coaching program now. So last year we took a year off to revamp the program, and
mhm.
our coordinator went through a life coaching for teens certification, and she was actually licensed to become a trainer in that. So she will train our mentors in a little bit of coaching skills. And the beauty of that is that they learn not only to do the ongoing relationship, cheerleading, check ins, and all that that mentorship is, but if a youth has a crisis pop up, which they always do, it's just the nature of one, being young, two, not having that support system. Um, and there's a lot of things that pop up, like I lost my job, or I have to move out of my apartment, or my roommate ditched me, or my girlfriend broke up with me, whatever it might be. Um, these are things that can be coached. And the difference is that a coaching um, scenario ends eventually, right? So you go into
Mhm.
coaching mode and you help them figure out their next steps, what their goal is, and how they're going to get there. And then once they achieve that goal, the mentor can go right back into the mentorship role of just being that cheerleader, that encourager. But we wanted our mentors to have a little more tools in their toolbox when they
Mhm.
were working with our youth, because they are coming across a lot of crises and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the trainings happen quarterly, and anytime someone wants to reach out, we'll put them on the list and let them know when the next training is. But we already have all the dates scheduled for the year, so we can even give them the dates now.
Okay, that's awesome. Typically, is it just through what age group are the kids that need the mentorship?
Yeah, so specifically, the mentorship program is 13 to 26.
Okay.
Um, we we have some that are even older than that, because they started during that window and they've kept in relationship with their mentor. And
Hmm.
so for those relationships, which we love, we hope that they last a lifetime. That's our dream, with every one of them. But for those relationships, we don't have a limit. We're never going to say, you're 30 now, it's over. We just keep it going. And as long as they want to keep going, that's wonderful. Yeah. But the target is 13 to 24.
Yeah, I love that. That's not feeling okay. Now you've reached it. You're just going to let you go. You're on your own. You still keep building that relationship as long as
Yeah.
both of them want it.
Yeah. And it
So that's
changes over time and
hmm.
becomes more of a friendship, and it's really neat to see that happening, and really neat. We have a young man who was, um, he did have an official guy who was mentoring him, and we also kind of all just took him under our wing. He was in care. He needed a suit and tie for debate club and also for college interviews. So we met him when he was a senior, and got him a suit and a tie from Men's Warehouse. And then we ended up like staying in community with him, and he would show up at some of our events. And then he was starting to share his story, and he shared his story at one of our Hope for Kids events. And then we invited him to join our board of directors, and he ended up joining our board of directors. And now he got married. I think it's been about a year now, a little over a year now. And when we went to his wedding, we were so overjoyed to go to his wedding, and we love his wife dearly. And we sat in on the groom's side, and then there was the bride side, how they do that. And then when
Hmm.
it was over, they said, all right, we're going to do family photos. And they had the bride side come up, and they took all the photos, and they said, okay, groom's side, raising hope, come up. We were the
It's fun.
groom's side. We were the only people that were there in his corner for that. And it's such a privilege to think about being in that role for these kids that I mean, we think of them as family, we really do, and that they might think of us as family is so special to us. Um,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, the mentorship never ends, the relationship. And we always say, like, you're part of the Raising Hope family now. Like, that's never going to end. We might set boundaries. We might say,
Mhm.
you know, don't ask for any more rent money. You need to get a job, that kind of thing. Because we
Yeah.
look at the kids like they're our own kids, right? And
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
not going to be just constantly doing things for our own kids. We want them to become self-sufficient. And so
Yeah.
at Raising Hope, we have that same philosophy. We have a transportation fund I haven't shared about yet either. And it um, we don't gift them cars. We could do that, but we have them save up so they have some skin in the game, right? They've got to save up. That's how I want my kids to go as well, where they've saved and they can show that they can save and maintain a car, right? And
Mhm.
so these
Mhm.
youth are saving up for their cars, and when they get them, they are beaming, and they claim they bought the car, and they did, and they should claim it,
Mhm.
because they worked really hard to do that. So, um, yeah, we just love these kids like they're our own kids.
Yeah. What a blessing that must have been. It just must have touched you all when you realize that you're his family. You were the ones there. And that one little request for a suit and where that has led to, just being you all
Yeah.
being able to support him to where he is now.
Oh, we have been so blessed by him. We're so thankful. Oh, and now they're expecting a baby.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's going
Yeah,
to be our first little
congratulations
Raising
to
Hope
them.
baby.
Oh, how cute is that?
Well, it's
Yeah.
actually not the first. We have lots of kids that have babies, but I think I would say, like, coming through the system and getting
Right.
married and having a
Giving
child, this
birth.
is our first one.
Yeah. And I think one of the things you touched on, even when you talked earlier about, teaching your daughter how to drive, but even through this conversation, it is really about learning those skills, right? You, like you said, you could give them, but where does that lead them to? Once they're out in the world, they're just not going to be receiving, receiving, and receiving. They got to learn how to be self-sufficient. It's just that's what you're enabling them to do, right?
Mhm.
By teaching them all of these skills.
Yeah, we want to empower them to find the
Mhm.
resources, because there could conceivably be a day when we're not here, right?
Mhm.
Or they move away and we're not as accessible or whatever it might be. Just like with parents, we want them to be able to thrive on their own. And also, it just feels better for them to be able
Mhm.
to do things on their own as adults. They very much want to be adults and be the master of their own future and decision making and independence and sort of autonomy, and that's what we want for them as well. So
Right.
we, when we're helping them, so we also have the housing navigator contract with the county, so we help them find their first home after foster care. So it's
Mhm.
generally an apartment or room rental. It's very challenging. This is the number one challenge that faces our youth in care in Ventura County, in almost any county, I think, but especially Ventura County, where housing costs are so high, in the Conejo Valley. um, and so when we work with them to get housing, we don't research the housing and send to them and say, this is great. What we do is we say, you research, and here are good places to research, and let's
Mm.
talk through what you're looking for, and let's talk about what's safe and what your rights are and what you might want to work towards. And then once they find that place, we help them pay for first month's rent and security deposit, because we know that they can maintain it. We've done the budget with them. We know they can maintain the housing, but they don't have any margin for that extra stuff, like the extra security deposit. So that's where
Mhm.
Raising Hope will come in. But we always want them doing the work so that they can replicate that the next time, you know?
Oh, that's great. That's great. And also, it empowers, like you said, it empowers them, but they feel a little invested in it, right? Because they've kind of,
Yeah.
it's not just handed to them. They've kind of researched, they've kind of learned from it. So,
Exactly. I mean, we don't want them to say, Raising Hope got me housing. We want them to say, I found housing, and I was able to find the resources to help me secure it. And it's not about Raising Hope, it's about their life.
yeah. You touched briefly on the transportation. Did you want to say anything more about it as to what you're doing?
Yeah, just transportation is tough, right?
Mhm.
Um, the first thing we need to find for our youth is housing. that's the first thing they need to secure, something that is safe and stable. Because when our youth don't have housing, it's impossible to know where they are going to work, where they're going to go to school, how they're going to get there. But once they have housing, the next thing is, well, now I live 5 miles from school. Do I have a bike where I could get there? Do I have a car? Or I found a job and it's amazing. It pays me really well, but it's in Simi and I live in Oxnard. And, how can I get there and back? What is my transportation plan? And so transportation is really key when you think about it. If you don't live in New York or someplace that has really available public
Yeah.
transportation, you're really responsible for that. And our area is so spread out, you have to get from here to here in a certain period of time. And it's almost impossible without a car. So if you're looking at someone who's working multiple jobs and or going to school and working, maybe they even have a child, so they have to take the child to childcare and then get to work. It's really hard to do that on public transportation. I
Mm-hmm.
had to take public transportation a few years ago for a program I was in called the Ventura County Leadership Academy, and they helped us learn about our community, and we had to take public transportation to one of our classes for the pure exercise of understanding what it's like to take public transportation. And I missed the bus. And I remember trying to figure out when the next one was coming. And that's sort of my thing. I'm always late, which is a terrible trait to have, but I am. And so I knew I'd be that one. So I'm trying to figure it out. It's very confusing. And then the next bus didn't come for another 15 minutes, which made me 15 more minutes late. And then the bus was a couple minutes late to come. And so it just made me realize how challenging it is for not only these youth, these young people that are trying to take public transportation, but also any parents that are trying to reunify with their children who are in care. They're trying to go to work, then they get a call, they have to like drug test randomly. So then they've got to go over to the testing site. And meanwhile, their boss is waiting for them to come back. It's a hard situation without
It is.
transportation. And we've
Yeah.
had kids, they stop running public transportation at a certain time at night as well. And some of our kids are still working, they're closing up shop or whatever, and then they have to walk home and it's not safe.
Not a good situation there if they have to do that. Yeah. Yeah. That's really something that's really lacking in our community, right? They have some, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, and I know they're working on it, but it's never going to be perfect for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And our youth they're limited in their options of where they can live, where they have
Mhm.
to kind of take it where they can get it. So it's not like they can make a plan to live near public transportation and
Right.
work and all that. And so it actually leads me to a project that we're working on called Hope Sweet Home. And this is our campus project. We would like to build a campus for housing that will have apartment style housing for youth who are aging out of foster care. And then we'll also have our offices there so we can have classrooms where we teach life skills class and they can work on campus. We're hoping to have a cafe and a gym and different, these are dreams that we have, but definitely with the apartments and the classes, we want to have this available to youth, and the campus would be near public transportation and
Uh,
near jobs, and we would have jobs on campus, and that way youth have the availability to earn an income without having to have that transportation. The transportation piece is hard because if they don't have their license, and when you are trying to get your license, you need someone to help you get those hours of driving in, right? But if you're in foster care, it can be really hard to find someone who will trust you. Maybe
mhm.
they've only known you for a few months and then they're going to let you behind the wheel. It's scary. It's scary for me to teach my own kids how to
Yeah.
drive, let alone other kids that I've met 3 months ago when they're coming into my home, right?
Right.
And then they go to take the test. You have to have a car to take the test. They don't give you one of those. And so, how are they going to take the test? And so, we help with a lot of that as well. They've used my car, and they've used some of our staff's cars to just take their test.
Mhm.
Um, and then once they get that license, they have a lot more freedom, and then we can help them get a car.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I love that project that you're working on. How far is that, and when do you have a timeline as to it? Maybe just in the infancy stages?
Yeah,
Um,
it's very, very baby.
okay.
We're just dipping our toe in the water and learning. We're doing all the research about learning what it means to have a capital campaign and building campaign. And
Hmm.
we're networking right now and interviewing all the team that's going to be working with us. And then we have to go to work fundraising. We've
Yeah.
looked at several properties and we have a really clear idea of what we're looking for, but um, yeah, we've got to find and secure that property, and then we have to just get to work fundraising. It's going to be a long road, but I'm excited because I think people are going to come on board with us
Oh, yeah.
because this is something that's going to virtually, hopefully, our goal is to eradicate homelessness for youth who are aging
Hmm.
out of foster care in our community. There's no
Yeah.
reason for them to be homeless unless they choose that. There are some people that make that choice, or because of whatever else is going on with them, they're not able
Hmm.
to choose housing. But we want it to be an option for anyone who wants it. And I know if we had this facility, we could fill it today. We
Oh, yeah.
just, there are so many youth that we're working with. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, that was I was going to touch the next one because I know fundraising. Uh, your organization runs on the fundraising and the support from people. You all have done some amazing fundraising in the past, and you all are still continuing. Do you all still do the two a year, or I don't know if I may be missing some of them?
Yeah, we do. We don't do the Hope for Kids Festival and Run any longer. Maybe one day we'll resurrect that. We really loved doing it. It's just a ton of work and doesn't bring in quite as much as the work effort feels it
Yeah.
deserves.
Mhm.
Um, but we also have our gala. So we had our first ever gala last year. Well, earlier this year, actually, and we're planning our 2025 gala. It'll be on March 22nd. So we'd love for you to join us. I hope you can be there, Shanta.
I know.
And I appreciate you donating to our silent auction.
Oh,
Great travel package. But we had a lot of fun doing that, and we raised quite a bit of money. And I know we'll do that again. I don't know if we have any other fundraisers in the pipeline. That's going to be our main one, probably.
mhm.
But we might throw in a poker tournament or something here and there. We've done that in the past. That's really fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the poker tournament. That I haven't been to that, but I remember you holding those, and people enjoyed it a lot. So
Yeah, it's a
this
lot of
is a
fun.
great thing. Yeah, yeah. So, Tammy, before I wrap up and let people know how they can reach you, I just have a couple of quick travel questions because life is a journey, just like traveling. So, what is your favorite place? I know there's people say, don't ask me for one favorite, but if I have, one that comes on the top of your mind, one or two, what's the favorite places that you've been to?
So I traveled more in my youth. I traveled all over Europe. I've been to Ghana, West Africa, um,
Hmm.
and Canada and Mexico, of course. But I really want to go back to Europe, and I want to bring my kids there. I lived in Germany for a year, and my husband lived in Florence, Italy. And so either of those places, I'd love to go back to Germany for like a Christmas. The Christmas markets are
Oh,
so
yeah.
amazing. I would love to go back to Lauterbrunnen, Switzerland,
Uh-huh.
up in the mountains there with the big
Yeah.
waterfalls. That
Hmm.
is my favorite place. And I never made it to Greece. And I'd really like to go to Greece and check it out. And then was it you that just posted um, was it Turks and Caicos, the
Yeah.
beach? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm putting that on my bucket list. After I saw your post, I'm like, I have to go there. I've never been to anywhere in the Caribbean or any of those islands. And I would love to do that. So I
Oh,
have a
that's
lot of
great.
traveling ahead of me once my kids graduate.
Yeah, yeah. All great places. And what a great way to learn the culture than spending a year, right? Or even
Yeah.
if it's just 6 months, it's a blessing to have done that. And great places, Germany and Florence, amazing places. And you've got some great things on your bucket list. So yeah. So Tammy, before we wrap it up, I'd like to ask you to what's the best way for people who can reach out to you to learn more, support you?
Yeah,
If you can give them just a little bit of information of how they can do that.
sure. Well, I encourage everyone to follow us on social media. So our social media handle at Instagram is Raising Hope Inc. INC. And on Facebook, it's Raising Hope and the number 4 kids. And I'd love for you to follow there because you can really see what we're doing kind of in real time almost. And then our website is raisinghope.org. And you can go there also to learn sort of a macro picture, some of the things I've shared today. And email info@raisinghope.org if you want to get involved either with events or if you want to donate or if you want to find out more about mentorship. Right now we really need drivers as well. So
Mhm.
we would still need a background check and a license evaluation and all that. But we need drivers just to get our kids to and from events.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So do reach out to Tami, get yourself on that list, whether it be for mentorship or helping. Tami, I know even just little things like, picking up things from somewhere and dropping it off to your office, little things that take time, but are just super easy to do if people want to just put their name so that you can, when a need arises, you can put it out there and people can, choose to do it when they can. And also support you, whether it be a monthly or a one time. Every little thing helps your organization. So that's a great way to reach out to Tami.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shanta. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Any final thought or words that you'd like to say? Um,
Yeah, just getting involved with this. If your heart is ever wanted to learn more about fostering or foster care, I'm happy to answer any questions. Foster care and adoption, or just fostering to foster, or mentoring. Anyone can do something. Everyone can do something, and it makes a difference, big or small. Whether you donate or you get really involved and run an organization, you're making a difference because these kids that we work with have so little support, and everything you do goes towards that. So yeah, let's all as a community come together to support these vulnerable youth, and we will be changing their lives, and they're trying to change our lives too.
yep, yep. Sometimes you don't realize you think you're helping, but you get the blessing and you get help, right? Because you never realize what a difference you make, but it also impacts you wonderfully.
I feel so blessed to do the work that I do. I can hardly call it work. I
Yeah.
really love it. And when we see a youth who is moved or loved or moves the needle forward in their life to meet their goals, we are honored to watch them do that. They're pretty amazing.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for joining us, and for all our viewers and listeners, do reach out to Tami. We have the her email going down there as well as the organization website. So go ahead and contact her. Get on the list that you can be contacted, whether it be just a one-time, a small request. Maybe you can help them later on when they have their big project coming, whatever it may be. But get in touch with Tami, learn more about it. We've just kind of touched the surface of what they're all about. And I'm sure you're going to learn a lot more and be a blessing to others. Thank you, Tami. And I would like our viewers to subscribe and share this to others, so that people can learn more about Raising Hope and also learn more about Tami and the difference she's making and all the people who are helping in that organization, making a difference in their lives. Thank you for joining us, Tami, and
Thank you, Shanta.
wish you all God's blessings and all the best in your efforts with Raising Hope.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And just before we wrap it up, just a little bit of outro exit, and then we will see you next time on our next episode of